Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What Topic Podcast with your hosts, Josh Deakin at Mr. Josh Deakin.
And Owen Burkett at Owen.Burkett.
Yeah, and welcome to the newest episode for the new year, 2021. It's a bit sooner, it's a bit later than I was expecting, but yeah, woo! It's the 4th of January, so this is the same day that the episode should come out, because it's been a quiet work day. But
yeah,
not that.
Well, it probably wouldn't worked anyways because I was having issues with the internet. Like for some reason on my TV, I could go on Netflix and then go on the internet on my phone, but everything else, like my iMac, PS4, like just would not connect to the internet except for those exceptions.
Sounds like you were being held at gunpoint at certain points for certain things. Like, you can't do this, but you can do that.
I know it's just like you can't have everything else, but you can have Netflix and internet.
Basically, sounds like you were being restricted in tiers in your house.
It just seems like a
Netflix
tier. It's like tier 4. It's like okay.
The funny thing is though that not to go jargony or anything like for the viewers here and you as well, Owen, but like I know that Netflix has it a bit easier as a streaming service because they have like their own like sort of like booster boxes in networks around the UK, like on the ISPs.
Maybe.
So the idea is apparently that means that like content is available more readily locally to your ISP than it is like across the Netflix service.
I wouldn't know about that, but
it's an approach that basically makes like the content delivery quicker.
Yeah, and it's just make it a little more frustrating because obviously now it's fine. Obviously we're recording on my iMac, but
we had no hiccups yet. Touch wood,
but it just gets in the way that obviously I have watch parties with various friends, and it's just makes it very frustrating when you want to do a lot more things, and when you actually got job applications that to sort out. It's very frustrating to having to do it on your phone. You just want to do it on your computer, and then the internet just goes nope.
It's kind of the reason why, like, even though I could hotspot to my phone from my phone to my computer, I like the convenience of doing it from an iPad. It's part of the reason why I've not used a laptop as much. And actually, that's one thing. If we're talking, because we're going to be talking about like things about 2020 that changed, I pretty much went to near enough being a full iPad Pro only user with my phone, and I didn't use my laptop for the most part up until March. Technically, I still use my iPad more, but like obviously March, everyone went into lockdown, so obviously like the laptop had to come back out because I needed the laptop power. I needed a bit more flexibility. But like, if there's one thing that I could definitely say, there's like I definitely became solidly an iPhone and iPad user only. I was just using it to edit my photos on the iPad. Obviously, you guys can't see this video podcast, but I've got my iPad here with my Apple Pencil. That was one of my lockdown treats to myself, actually, surprisingly. I spent 120 quid on that. One solitary pencil. But you know what? They do say the small things bring big benefits.
I mean, I think we all treated ourselves from last year. Like, and obviously, with me with the new Rode mic, which obviously sounds just so crisp and so just so good.
What's that saying? The buttery biscuit base.
What you mean? What you say it? So
buttery biscuit base.
Trademark Josh Deakin. So.
No, I've heard loads of people say that online. Like they use that like a sort of quote because like when you're repeating your P's, put.
Yeah, I did. So just going from like what I used to record on my AirPods from the first couple episodes to like now, it's just night and day.
And because obviously you upgraded your quality, I thought the same. Like the reason why we both use AirPods, like I actually do have a Blue Snowball microphone that you can hear me from now, and I have a pair of Sennheiser headphones, and you have a pair of headphones that work for you as well. But like we stuck with AirPods because we weren't really. Without like sounding like rude to the podcast, that like it couldn't like have its own legs if it wanted. Like it was a casual thing. It's still very much a casual thing at the minute, but like we are taking it in detail more.
Yeah, and it just makes the and it's just it sounds weird. Like obviously we're very detail orientated, and the fact that it can be a little bit distracting when you notice the differences between using one and the other. And then you just go, you know what? I cannot go back to using the AirPods, honestly. Just using the Rode mic is just there's a reason why it's so renowned.
Oh yeah. Like we kind of like what's the word? Like we adjusted to our parameters. Like we kind of made our own sort of like area of understanding that we was like taking this you know, we were taking it seriously, but like we weren't taking it seriously to the point like where we was like, okay, we're strict on recording, like, and we did kind of like change that routine as we got through it. Like we managed to get every week near enough for about 3 or 4 episodes, I think, right?
Yeah, something like that. But also, it's we just didn't know when, things are going to go back the way they are. So it's like if we're going to have to make the most out of it, we might as well make the most out of it at home.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
speaking of treating myself, I've decided to upgrade my phone after since 2016.
Wow.
Which I got so I'm going from an iPhone 7 to like an iPhone 12 Pro.
That's such a jump, isn't it?
It is a massive jump. I mean, I thought going from a 5C to 7 was a bit of a jump, which it kind of was at the time.
It's a size difference, definitely. So like you've done that again, technically, but with
for sure. I mean, even if I did go to just a regular 12, like the fact that going from a 4.7-inch screen to a 6.1 is just, there's no the comparisons. But the fact I decided to go with a Pro for personal reasons, like, and for the reasons because of that is I want to up my mobile photography and filmmaking game, as it were. And the fact that it has 3 lenses on it, but also the fact because I'm part of the Moment creative team.
Congratulations again.
I just kind of pushing myself to give myself reasons to be creative and use the thing that we have in our pockets to be able to create something. You shouldn't be limited to just because some people will be a bit up a nose to hearing that you took photos or made a short film on your mobile phone. It shouldn't hold you back to, the fact that you went out and created something.
Oh no. I'd probably say it's the same sort of argument actually that you're making is the same for like when a lot of the mirrorless cameras came in to the market. Like you've seen how small my camera is, and you think it was the case probably when they were coming in that like people was like, oh, that looks like an amateur camera. It doesn't look like it's packing as much as it is. But the problem is, I think the argument of the sake of this like kind of bit here is that size isn't always what matters. And obviously, I'm not saying that as an innuendo. Don't take it like that for people who are listening.
If you want to, it's up to you. But I know I get you. It's kind of like it's always like I remember talking to Chris Frith and Ryan Axe, basically saying, because they're also filmmakers as I am. It's never about the tech that you have. It's always about what you can do with it.
You could buy the best camera in the world, but like if you don't know how to use it for toffee, then like it's just a lump of old bits that are sitting about.
And that's what gets me, like when I see people that they've got, like even from when they had for the last iPhones, like they had the 11 Pros, like it's all well and good that you got the 3 lenses, but especially with the 12 Pro, that they've now got the new feature for the Pro Raw, which is a massive thing, because I've seen videos on YouTube where they did a comparison shooting it on JPEG and shooting it on Pro Raw.
It gives you shivers just how good it is.
It's so good. And so the fact that I see people that have got the 12 Pro and they're just casual phone users, and I'm thinking, well, you might as well just have
they always just go for the biggest
12.
and the best, because the price is whatever they can afford. They can afford it. And
they can afford it, and
it does.
Yeah, and they just think because it's the best phone, it's like, yeah, of course it is. But if you don't use the most out of it, it just makes it feel like a waste of a machine in someone's hands.
You know what the argument is? It's like somebody buying some extra like kind of like baking equipment and then just using all the manual stuff still, and like using the automatic stuff only when you need it.
Yeah,
you need it. Like you don't justify. Like it's the part of the reason why a lot of people can't justify buying those coffee makers. Because unless you're going to be buying the stuff for it, like, which we do, like, I mean, that was one of the first things that we bought as a lockdown sort of treat to everyone in the house, apart from obviously my brother. He doesn't like coffee, but I mean, we drink coffee in our house. We like Costa coffee quite regularly as household owners, and we decided to just go for one of those I think is it Breville? I think they're called Breville, the company that make it for
I know there's Nespresso, there's Tassimo, and
Tassimo's the one. I think Breville make it for Tassimo, the company, and like you got obviously, if you know, probably most people know how these coffee machines work, but like they use like an identifying like kind of barcode when you put them in and stamp them in. It knows what you need to produce, how much water you
Yeah.
need. It's a more intelligent way of doing it at home, and like they used to be very gimmicky a lot of the time. Like they'd be like in the hundreds, but we paid like 35, £40 for it.
You can definitely find a decent. It depends on like the type of coffee that you want. Like it's the same with getting an iPhone, or not just an iPhone, but any smartphone. Like there's different various um quality of the machines. Like you can, if you're not bothered about the tech or anything like that, you could get like, say for example with a 12, so like you could get just a 12 mini, and it's the
Or
same,
even go further down than that and get like the SE that was released at the start of the year.
yeah, all that too. But the thing is, it's like, there's always a machine or a piece of tech for everyone. Like even if you're not fussed about certain features, you can always go for something that makes it just as good as it can be for your needs.
It's funny that there's this YouTuber I was watching last night talking about, I think his name's Canoopsy on YouTube, so that for those who want to find him. He made a really good point, is that like Apple kind of promote themselves as this like really like sort of premium, like everyone loves them kind of brand, which obviously asterisk, not everyone loves them. There are people out there who will say, rather have an Android device.
I'd rather have a Samsung or whatever. Yeah. So.
I mean, even they've got Samsung's got a bit of an ecosystem going now, so like they've kind of gone the way of Apple anyway. So like you could say that like a lot of Samsung stuff now like is better with Samsung other stuff, but then at the same time they still work with other Android stuff. So like you could say the Samsung ecosystem versus the Apple ecosystem, like the wall garden isn't as tall to climb.
Yeah,
but I mean, generally speaking, like you could apply the point that like it's a premium brand, but a lot of people can afford to buy it, or at least pay bits back every month for it.
What I like now is that with the thing that I was impressed with was that they realized that they probably didn't want people to be what's the word, they didn't want to be
discouraging.
I like discouraged, but they don't want to alienate certain people that in order to get the best iPhone, you need to get this or you don't. What I liked about the 12s lineup, from the 12 mini to the 12 Pro Max, is that even with the 12 mini you get exactly the same features as the 12, and it's just smaller. And I think that's really cool, that the fact that they made it to accommodate that to certain people, that so
they're not streamlined.
They're not missing out on certain things. So and obviously, I that's to me that I just think that's a really cool feature that they've done. That the fact that
it did make you a bit perplexed on which one you wanted to go for at the same time, didn't it?
It did. Admittedly, it did make it quite difficult, but it kind of helped when one time when I went to Reading during a spare time I had when I had to be there. I went to the Apple Store, and it was a good thing that I went to see it in person, because obviously they came out when it was during the second lockdown, I think.
So you was able to go just at the tail end of that lockdown.
So as soon as I was able to go there, then I could, it's always best to kind of see in person. And
so they had I remember you saying they had the 12 mini there, but obviously at the time you could only pre-order the 12 mini still, couldn't you?
No, I think you can.
I'm sure they staggered the launch. Didn't they come out? They came out with the 12 and the 12
that's right.
Pro,
So they released the 12
Max and the 12
Pro,
November,
and then the Mini was a bit later, and then the Pro Max was a bit after that. So it's kind of like jumbled. With
I think that they did that because a lot of people say they did that online to like almost get like second rounds of waves of interest from people online, which makes sense. Maybe you get double the amount of review footage in one.
Yeah. But it was useful to see, because obviously I'm going for my iPhone 7. I wanted to see, how small the 12 mini was, and I could. That was probably the main thing I said no to, because I was going to go for it, but then when I saw the actual screen size, it's just too small.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, I might go to the 12, but then I thought, long term, am I going to get to the point where, my mobile photography and filmmaking maybe could potentially pick up, and then I go, well, if I might as well go to the 12 Pro now.
It's thinking the difference between settling for what you want, and then there's settling for what there's not settling and having the stuff that you need for the future already, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And it's it's not a case of just like going, oh fuck it, I'll do it. It's the case of like, you know that you'll want to initiate the use of those 3 lenses, and of course, obviously through your ambassadorship with Moment, you'll have an opportunity to explore those different things a bit more, because you'll have more lenses, more lens attachments, and that experience becomes even better. And then you got the Dolby Vision as well with the 8-bit color video recording,
which I'm so excited to use,
and LiDAR as well. I'm jealous
and
of
LiDAR and just everything. Like I just thought like I've been so comfortable with certain things that I was like, you know what, I'm going to take the extra plunge and just go through it.
They do say that too much of one thing is never good for you. And like sometimes settling isn't always like, it's like the old fashioned way of saying like, okay, I'm getting a new phone now, I'll pass this phone down to someone in my family. Like that still happens, but how regularly does that happen? Like most people will just go and recycle their phone or trade it on to get a new one.
Or if they're on a plan, they can easily just upgrade it, so they don't really
take money off the next phone.
Yeah, and so. You know, I honestly did not think I was going to get a Pro, but the more I thought about it, my gut instinct was like, just go for it.
Because the big difference for me and you between our phones now, because obviously the one thing they changed, which is, I mean, obviously everyone knows, is that they basically went back on their design and they've gone for a more 4S approach, haven't they? Where it's now a blockier design rather than a
I noticed that it's like it's very similar to the SE, where it's very sort of
the first generation SE.
It's very sort of not hard edge, but you know, like it's very sort of solid rather than like very rounded.
Some people said that the corners are very sharp, but I don't know whether I could verify that because I didn't hold it for long enough in the store.
No, but I mean,
I don't even know if I actually like this design more, because like, I mean, we're showing each other now on camera, but like I already see the shine. I see the shine on that on the stainless brushing around the outside. Looks gorgeous. Honestly, it really like does numbers for me. It makes me really jealous.
I know. Well, they've done the complete opposite with the regular 12. So it's got a steel back.
It's like a brush design, because obviously it's glass still for wireless.
Yeah, it's got so it's basically got a steel back, and then it's got a matte side, which I actually quite like. This it's the only downside with having a stainless steel side is it's a magnet for fingerprints,
and it can get a little bit slippery sometimes, I imagine.
Probably not particularly.
Maybe I'm thinking more of my phone here, because like you can see this, I can almost sort of like smudge it like that. It's going through my fingers.
Well, that's the thing that yours is a bit rounder, whereas yours is actually you can just grip it, so that makes it really useful.
I think in design, most people like the idea of it being curved, because when you curve, obviously I'm showing Owen this, but like I can sort of describe like it. You can see how it sits at the end of my palm as I obviously tense my hand to hold it.
Yeah,
but I imagine that's where some people don't like the new design, because it might dig into your hand rather than curve with your hand. It's more.
I don't know. I've heard quite a few people that really dig the design. Like they.
Yeah.
And
I'm for the design. Don't get me wrong. I'm just obviously like
for sure. But the thing that I kept in mind was the fact, if I'm going to spend this much money, I remember watching a video that Peter McKinnon, like a really renowned Canadian photographer that you may have seen on Instagram, etc. He's taken it's like amazing photos. And
he's an aspiring guy to look at.
He's like, I've seen a lot of videos, and it's like even if he shoots his stuff on a DSLR, I can still apply to it on the phone. So and I've downloaded apps that I never thought I would have. So there's like apps called lens distortions. Then there's obviously Lightroom, which I'm going to think of getting, and I just can't wait to actually use it fully. And so basically what he said was that obviously he looked at I think it was the new 12 Pro, or he reviewed the Moment lenses. Yeah. And he did say that obviously phones would never replace DSLRs or mirrorless cameras. It's just there's always going to be pros and cons between the two.
It's the same sort of reason why a bigger telescope is better than a smaller telescope, because you've got more room for light to travel. Like you think of it like, I guess if we're talking not as much jargon for the people listening, but like most photographers will know this anyway. It's the case that like less more is better in terms of light producing space. And obviously my camera is a 30mm lens on it from Sigma, and the space between it is like between my hands, like it's basically like, you know, like a sort of claw size of my hands in terms of how much room there is in there. Not very accurate, obviously. Don't take that to scale. But the point in case is, like you're saying, is that like doesn't matter how far the camera is protruding out, you know, to the point where maybe like if you haven't got a case, it might like jig about on the table. You're not going to see results that are hardware specific as such, that keep up with, you know, camera tech of today. Or even my camera from like my A6000 mirrorless camera from Sony is from 2016, and my iPhone is old, so is newer than it by only about when did it come out? I think the first iPhone 10 came out about 2018. Okay. So I imagine this was a 2019. Yeah, 2019. Actually, no, 2018. Sorry, because 2019 was the iPhone 11. But you can see the sort of the difference of like how much they're doing in software, and that is where people get kind of confused. Like software and hardware, something that Apple does very well. That's why you got the technologies that have led up to ProRAW now, with like stuff like Deep Fusion. And then obviously, you know, portrait modes that like Apple like basically like made popular. Like obviously I know Apple doesn't do innovation the way that people expect them to do. They sort of innovate our perspective of the future as they bring in stuff like wireless charging. Like wireless charging got a lot more adopted by people that when that launched on the iPhone. So
yeah, I mean, and sort of, I totally understand where people are coming from. Like, you know, if you're going to spend that much, you might as well invest on the better camera. But my argument is like, you know, I'm not particularly a massive. I mean, would say I'm a very creative person when it comes to it, but I'm not gonna. I just feel like I want to show that you can make something amazing, you know, in your phone that you keep in your pocket. And you know, if you apply the right lenses, or you use the right apps or whatever, you know, I just want to show that to people, that, you know, people could be discouraged about trying to find the right cameras or anything like that, and I can just go to them and say, actually, you can just use the very thing, you know, in your pocket.
Oh yeah, for many years as a YouTuber, there's been many YouTubers in tech. There's one that like stands out to me that I don't think he was the first to say this quote, but like he was basically, his name's Chris Perillo. I don't know if you've ever heard him on YouTube, but he's one of the quotes that he said to me will always stick with me, and it's the case that the best camera is always the one you have in your pocket. And like the argument was, it was a good point to make, don't get me wrong, but it depended what camera you had in your pocket sometimes.
Yeah.
But now I'd say that quote is probably seeing more sense now, because there is such a wide variety of phones out there with brilliant cameras, software. Look at Huawei phones, look at you know, the iPhone, Samsung's technology. Obviously, you get a different sort of like caveat with certain companies maybe going for more warmer looks, whereas iPhone sometimes it does kind of like warrant a bit more darker, but sometimes a bit brighter images. It really depends. Like the night mode on the new iPhones, I really want like that. I crave the idea of that, because low light photography is something I really want to give more emphasis on this year, and lighting in general. But I can see you're going to have a lot of fun with that when it gets nighttime tonight.
I don't know if we're going to use it tonight, but I will eventually start, you know, testing it out.
You can do astrophotography, I've heard, with the right apps, I think, at the minute as well.
Yeah, I got so many apps on my phone that I just can't wait to finally use it. So yeah, I mean, this year has been, you know, I wanted to make something, you know, for myself to actually, you know, start, you know, pursuing something that I want to do. And, you know, if I have to start with using my, a premium smartphone, then I'm just going to do that, and obviously, you know, keep using the things that I'm very familiar with, such as moments, so getting the right cases, the right lenses, the right gimbals, and various other things that will help me get inspired. And and you know, and it's just and it's not taking a dig at people, but it's very, you know, it must be very frustrating when you can say to yourself, if I had my own tech, or at least my own equipment, then I could just pick it up and go say to people, do you want to do a quick photo shoot or just make a quick video? And that's what I want to do at this point, because again, not taking any stabs for people that I've worked with or
Oh
anything
no,
like
no, I
that,
get you.
but it's very frustrating when you have to rely on other people when you could just get your own stuff and then
No, I
just
get you. There's a place for them. People. What the one thing that I think has changed a lot over the last few years is the idealisms of the way you use certain tech. Like, for example, like most people have great phones, like we do, like with the iPhones and stuff like that. They know they can take great photos with them, but they'll still go to a photographer because they know that the photographer has a expertise in taking photos in a certain way. They're not
Yeah.
they're not just pressing a button. They're taking their time to come and shoot you. They're obviously making that time to also edit the photos, deliver them to you. It's a personalised experience, and a photographer, it doesn't matter how good tech gets, a photographer will always have a place in that, because it doesn't matter how good machine learning is. Like, machine learning will always improve the cameras that the photographers are using, and that's where I think it needs to continue to go. And obviously with the phones, like I know photographers who are solidly iPhone only, but they probably don't do portraits, and that's where I think the main camera world has a bigger edge, because as I said, the more light, the better aperture, you get a nice shallow depth of field. But then software does very good as well. Like, there are times where it's a bit warm and a bit sort of like frosting around you, and you have to understand that, like, the difference between spending the sort of money that you do on camera gear. Like, I spent a lot less than £1,000 on the set of camera gear, but my phone cost me £1,000. But
Yeah.
the argument doesn't really bring money into it, because of the fact that, like, you can still achieve great things with these devices, but then when you bring money into it, that's then when you make it sort of like sound like you have to buy a normal DSLR or a mirrorless camera to justify taking good photos, when you really don't. Like, you can buy great camera gear that like attaches to this stuff. You can buy tripods. I mean, obviously you know what this is. Obviously this is a little mini pod from Manfrotto.
Manfrotto, yeah.
You can literally just pair it with a tiny little adjustment piece, and I can stick my phone on top of that tripod, and it's already ready to take photos in a nice stable setting. But the case in point is, it used to all be about how much money you wanted to spend on something, and cameras were always there before iPhones and Android phones were. And now we've got to the point now where you can be either one of those, and it really depends on what you're looking for.
And people are not going to be as judgmental. Like, if you say, like, if you just take out your phone and whatever. Like, I think I've actually got people interested when I grabbed my phone out and attached one of the moment lenses. Like, people just looked at it and went, "Oh, that's odd." Like, it's like, and
it's the same as with my DSLR. My mirrorless camera. Like I said a few years ago, people would have laughed at it and said, "Why does it not look bulky? I can't trust something like that. It looks like a point and shoot."
Yeah, but nowadays I think more it's people are more inclined to just trust of what you got.
Socially acceptable.
And the great thing about Moment is that they've since I first made aware of them since 2018, they've actually progressed to branch out and connect with other brands, and
they become a bit of a sort of like go-to, sort of like, if you're into photography, you're into videography, and you want to go it with this kind of setup with an iPhone or even Android phones. They've got stuff for Android phones as well.
Yeah, they got Samsung. They got the Pixel, the one. So yeah, they got numerous cases and lenses attached. But they not only do they have lenses and filters and MD filters for your smartphone, they've also got it for your regular cameras.
Yeah.
So, and they also do sell cameras. They do sell, Sony, Canon, just whatever they have.
They're basically not like saying that like what we're doing is basically voiding what has already come before, basically.
No, so they are. But so instead of being, we're just a mobile photography and filmmaking equipment website, we've now gone to the point where we can sell cameras and sell filters and other bits and pieces for your actual like DSLR and mirrorless cameras. Exactly. So I think that's amazing that they've now got all just this one website where you don't have to faff around and go into different websites or different companies or whatever. They've all got it.
Yeah,
you've got
that I would say the one thing that would only come into that is probably like how much they probably sell something on there compared to somewhere else that you might get cheaper.
Yeah, no,
I
I
guess
get that.
It really depends. Like some people might be inclined to do it as part of a deal on there. Maybe the bit that probably makes me sway more to something like that is if they bundled some of their products with like other products. Like you can go on there and you can find products from Nomad and like they're like in the hundreds of pounds. And like I could just never see myself paying that much money unless I had that money to float. You know.
Yeah. But I mean, actually, funny enough, one of my friends, actually, someone we both know, actually, Amy,
Yeah.
at Fooders, has actually bought a Cinebloom filter
Ooh.
for the camera, and it actually does look pretty amazing. I actually
Wow.
quite so,
Was
but
that
yeah,
for her phone or is it for her camera?
for a camera. So they do have
Ah.
one for the phone and the camera. So
Oh wow, I didn't know. To be honest, I knew of that they did stuff for conventional cameras, but I didn't know that.
no. If any of you who are listening are interested to find any filters or even like certain lenses or anything like that, then definitely go on the Moment shop. They do have everything there, and also they just released a new filter called the CPL filter. I think basically basically what it is an anti-glare.
Oh yeah,
Lens. So if you want to shoot like wide landscapes, then it gets rid of a bit of the glare, or if you want to shoot any portraits, like a person inside a car, for example, you can get rid of the glare and you can actually see through.
oh that's cool.
So
Is that trick where you put your coat or your t-shirt over the camera lens and like you create that darkness, don't you? So you don't
yeah,
see your reflection.
but the great thing about that is you don't need to do that. You just turn the
Yeah.
lens a bit, turn the lens or the filter a little bit, and then you obviously get to the point where you can actually see through the glare. So
Because there are some camera like bits that you can do that with, but they're always pretty pricey. Like
yeah.
they're like the next best thing to an ND filter, really. Like most ND filters will provide you with the ability to shift out certain types of light, but like it really depends on how much you spend. Because some of the cheaper ones, like they really don't do GX well. To be honest.
No. So the great thing about the Moment filters and lenses is that it's like top quality. Like they're quite hefty with the lenses, so that you're definitely getting like DSLR like quality like pictures without compromising any of the quality of your images or your footage. So yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely going to be worth like that. That's what the type of investment I'm going to be having, and that's what I'm going to be having soon. So I'm looking at the anamorphic lens, which I'm really excited to get into.
Such a world.
And then get the MD filters, then probably get like a gimbal, probably get the Free Fly Movi, which is a pretty neat like little gimbal.
Yeah, I've really wanted to get the what's it called, I forget the name of it. It's what's the gimbal that DJI do? What's it called? Is it
the OM4 or something like that?
I'm sure it's like begins with O. I don't know what
it's like. It's OM4. What that's the new version they've had, like the OM4 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a handheld thing with obviously with an arm, and then obviously you attach it, and then that's it. That's all you have to do.
Osmo. That's it.
Osmo, that's it. Yeah.
I've seen it on sale. I have before at Argos in the UK, and like I was really tempted to buy it, but like that when we was talking about like earlier, like obviously like I don't really need something like that right now, so like it's just wasted money on my part.
No, what I'm doing now is obviously I got a tripod. What I might do is I get an attachment on top of the tripod, so you can actually switch it from portrait to landscape. Because at the moment, all my mobile phone attachments, like they're gonna do landscape.
Yeah.
So see how it goes. But yeah, so
fair,
that's
I have been exploring so within my photography work, I've kind of been exploring like incorporating like little bits of BTS video, not even just the Instagram story stuff, but like the idea of having it where I could pan round the model, like she poses in certain ways, like maybe the camera's like clicking away, taking shots of that kind of thing. And maybe it creates a bit more exciting sort of like depth to the shoots.
Yeah, sure. I'm just excited to what I'm hopefully will potentially happen this year, because also the other thing I've got this happen this year is I'm hoping to start filming my short film, which I've been
the one that you had to put off, unfortunately.
But again, it's like because we're in tier 4, we can't like even meet up. So we don't even know how long that's going to be.
No,
And
you
if
can only
that
meet up with one other person.
because I was like thinking about doing it in March, and I'm just thinking now it's like I don't think that's even possible.
You know, actually, my mum told me something earlier that like there's apparently like a calculator that will tell you how long you got to wait for the vaccine potentially.
Yeah.
I say give it a Google for those who are listening, and obviously if you want to have a little look at it as well. Like obviously take that as a very small grain of salt, because it's obviously calculating your chances based on the current knowledge of how long you might be. Like most people are saying online, and most scientists are saying that most people will get the vaccine before the summer, but that's only like obviously like current speak. And like obviously it depends on like where you work. Like obviously like my friend's just become a vaccinator for the NHS recently within her job. So like I mean obviously it's something that you didn't think you'd ever need to have. Obviously with COVID coming around, like it's an opportunity for her to obviously get that on her resume, like for, you know, for a CV for further stuff in the NHS.
Yeah, well, that's funny enough. I've also applied to be a non-medical vaccinator, and
Congratulations, mate.
And I've just gone to the next stage, so I need to sort that out. So because obviously, you know, I've been trying to get like just a job like within like a supermarket or whatever, and they just pretty much just not got back to me. And it's been very frustrating.
It's a
so
shame,
I have
really,
to.
when like you can see the supermarkets like really like struggling at the minute, like to cope with people. And, like you're just there, like I want a job, I want to earn money, and I also want to help. You know?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You can't put that want and willpower into it because they're not like giving you the opportunity, and like they're crying for more people, as they constantly say.
Well, it's frustrating because they've now opened a Tesco Express like a week or two ago. And I thought, oh, okay, that'd be cool if I can just get a job, you know, part-time around there for the meantime. But they've got nothing. So they must have just got people that already were in Tesco, and they just went, okay, you work.
That is a bit mean, isn't it? Like they've like kind of like scouted other stores people.
And it's like whenever I apply to try work there, that not the store but just Tesco in general.
Oh yeah.
Because that was my first job ever. Like when I was studying at uni, like I worked at.
So you thought they would have Tesco and maybe called you back?
Well, I made sure that was in my application. And whenever they do send an email saying we're not going to take your application forward, they don't give me they don't give me an explanation, you know, why they reject it, and they always say we hope this feedback was useful, and I just go, well, no.
What feedback? Actually. It's the same reason why I get annoyed that like exams, like you don't get any feedback of where you went wrong.
No, and you just go, well, and they always say like, you know, we hope this feedback is useful so you can do better in future, and I'm like, well, no, actually, I don't know what I did wrong.
That you rejected me again.
Yeah, so so I'm actually going to plan on calling them and just say, look, this is ridiculous. I understand that you can't have somebody just manually, you know, respond to every single person, but
it'd be nice to know.
It'd be nice to know like where I'm doing wrong, and the thing is, like,
I know there are times where they say like that there's things that you shouldn't need to know, but like this is one that they're withholding from you that they could tell you.
Yeah, and it's just frustrating because obviously, like I said, I've worked in, you know, with Tesco before, but I've worked in customer service jobs like throughout whenever. So it's not exactly rocket science in order to do that, but it's just the problem is like they're not giving me that opportunity, and it just would be so useful because I've got a big one just about 30 minutes walking distance like from where I live, and obviously we now got a small one that's literally just around the corner, which would be really useful for me. So, but
it's frustrating. I mean, I went 2 times for an opportunity at the Birmingham Apple store. I did a few years ago, and both times I got through to the group interview. But then, like after that, you don't know. I wasn't told what I did wrong. Like why it wasn't taken forward. And I think as humans, we crave feedback, we crave a response, and when we're denied that, we get really confused and think that it's all wrong.
It's not not conclusive.
Yeah, that's it. It's like it's almost like someone shot you, but you can't feel where that shot is.
Well, worst example is like when you get ghosted from someone.
Yeah,
and
you get a response technically,
and you just kind of like, what did I do something wrong? And at the end of the day, most of the time, it's like, no, it's nothing wrong with you. It's just,
I've been like well, not ghosted as such, but like just like put on sin and ignored by models that
Just
have actually
ignored,
shoot in the
yeah.
past. And it's just like, why did you take the time to press the button? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a really thing. But obviously, like that's a whole other conversation that we don't want to like go
Yeah,
down rabbit holes with.
but essentially is that I'm trying to just take it as it comes, because I think from last year, like everybody else, we've all had plans on what to do,
Yeah.
and it just went absolute
Yeah,
like tits
2020
up.
was the year that we basically got put on pause, in my opinion.
And I'm thinking this year, like because things are still uncertain, so I'm taking it as they come. Like for example, I got filming I'm potentially going to be doing in early February, and I'm just hoping to God that that actually becomes a reality.
Because you've been preparing for it as well, haven't you, sir?
Well, that's the thing. I went for a COVID test and a costume fitting for it, and then you just hope that it actually happens. Because I had that situation where I had 2 productions booked in March last year, and then obviously the coronavirus thing got out of control, and then they all got cancelled. So.
And obviously, you know, linking to that, like you got different productions that have still managed to go ahead, and then you got Tom Cruise, obviously, like bursting out on people before Christmas.
Yeah, it
just tells you how difficult times are. Like that, you need to have a level head and be switched on about this shit.
Yeah, it's just like the fact that, like he said, and we said in the previous podcast, is that, we've been out of work for so long, and then the fact they're trying to safely keep making films and make sure that someone gets a job at the end of the day and actually gets paid for it. So yeah,
it's what the virus likes. It likes people to be careless. That's the problem. Like one person becomes 100 people, and 100 people becomes 1,000, and then 100,000. That's where the measurement's at.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
So yeah, I think so. For this year, I just hope things will slowly improve. I'm trying to keep myself level-headed, and then don't let the whole thing go against me. So that's why I decided
when it turned midnight, I sort of like a little bit of positivity kind of like just rolled in, like, and it's weird because like I was very doom and gloom. I was for the last few weeks, the last few days of Christmas. Like obviously we get that interim days between Christmas and New Year where it's like, well, what do I do? Do I just sit around eating myself to death, or like I did at Christmas, and like do all the silly things? Like, but I did go out and do shooting just before Christmas, and I had plenty of content. And I mean, one of the things that I just got started recently, which you might have seen the audio because I saw obviously you obviously joined it early on. I started an Instagram account for more portraits, like a second home, called Unseen MJD. So
yeah,
I'd say some people might have been confused by the concept, but like, I mean, before we take a quick break in the podcast, I'll mention it quickly because it's something that I'm actually quite proud I started, because a friend of mine and quite a well-known photographer in the Midlands scene and a bit further afield named Bartley.photo, we actually did a guest episode with him, Meet the Creator episode with him on the Get the Shot podcast that I also do, which is on hiatus currently. So go and watch that if you want to know more about Bartley. But basically, like, he did this thing recently called Bartley.ex, which is short for experiment. So he wanted to experiment outside of his current bubble of his main stuff that's not like, mostly paid stuff. Like he does all of his own like sort of creative filming and photography business. Yeah. But then Bartley Photo is like his stomping ground for doing all the cool things he likes to do with models, like whether that's lingerie or that's like on site shoot somewhere like in the sticks or in the city or something like that. Like he's expanded beyond just the lingerie stuff. So if you are into that stuff though, he does a good job of it. So like there's no like dissing there. But generally speaking, the idea of his experimental account gave me the thought that, like, obviously I don't want to copy him. I ain't doing experimental like all the way, but like it allows me to sort of like put photos out that I didn't think would probably make the main cut on the main page, and if they receive a good lot of exposure on that second page, maybe I can rediscover that with the same model later in another location or a similar location, or infect it. So essentially it is like a testing ground for content that probably was great, but not great enough where I felt like it got on the main page. And obviously that's no discretion, not discretion, there's no dig on any of the models I've worked with, because I've posted like a variety of people on there so far. Like I've posted 9 photos since I started it a few days ago. I think I started it on the 2nd of January, actually. I think it was last Saturday I started it. I've used one of the early followers of it, so you'll probably remember.
It was within the past couple of days. Yeah.
And it's grown quite a few followers, to be fair, actually. It's grown exponentially compared to my Josh Elsewhere account, which I also have. I've got 3 accounts now, but I've created loads more Instagrams in the past. You've probably seen it.
Oh, but if this thing, my venture like picks up, then I might have
A new home, yeah.
my own photography account because I want to just keep playing around with that.
And do you know what? I'll be the first person there to support you because obviously, like, me and you are very much like in that sort of like creative supporting thing. Like, we support people all the time. We're sharing people's content, and like the fact that like you throw your support to my new account, obviously I'm going to return that. I'm excited to see what you get on.
I much appreciate it, but I'm just like I said, I just want to turn a really shit situation into a good situation.
Oh, yeah.
I just can't let the current like circumstances like just hold me back from wanting to achieve
you want to turn anew and perfect what you do currently, and also it's not just about being creative, it's about also giving yourself something fulfilling to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's
gives
just
gives you new vision and clarity.
It just gives me it just keeps me busy and purpose, and the fact that even though financially I'm not worst off, so that's why I decided to take the risk and say, you know what, I'll just go with the 12 Pro. And then
you're gonna live a little, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, there's living and there's living within your means. Like sometimes you do go outside of those means for good reasons. Like my phone, I didn't have to upgrade for another year if I didn't really want to. Decided to do it. Best decision I made. I was very happy with it. But I'd say without going obviously into too much depth, like it's that kind of understanding of trying new things. Like you can't always expect other people to like think the worst of you for trying something new. Like I was expecting people to go, oh, what, another page? I did get one person ask me, why are you making another page? And I explained to him why I did, and he actually went, okay, that's quite a cool idea. It's not like costing you anything extra. It's actually making use of content you didn't expect to post.
I think for me at least, in my reason is that people would more appreciate you at least attempting to do something and trying to do something rather than you keep saying it but you don't do anything with it, and it just makes people frustrated. It's like, why don't you do it? And you just go, what why? And you always make excuses. But I think recently, especially from COVID, it's just like I've recently just slowly decided to go, 2 simple words, fuck it, basically.
Oh, exactly, yeah. The mentality last year was that, like, because we had so much time to spend on our hands, like, even while I was still working, like, I was still, like, trying out ideas, thinking of things to do. Like, I know an Instagrammer in Birmingham called excuse me, his name's Mitch, but he's on Instagram as MLG Media _media. He gets he sometimes will just get an idea to, like, even with like a little item, like I think him and his like brother also got like the Mario Kart Live thing over the Christmas period. That thing where you can basically play through like a camera on the head of the Mario Kart thing, and you can play like your own version of Mario Kart in your own room. It's really clever.
Right.
And like
cool.
he saw that little figurine as like an idea of trying something with a crystal ball. So he created like a parallaxing effect where like the Mario Kart thing looked like it was like jumping into like another reality. And he was taking that learning and then he implemented it onto some photos that he had already taken, and then he's going to try and do that live, like take proper photos like that. And I mean, just that's the sort of learning that you want to see. Like being cooped up inside is just trying things that like you don't think work. Like for me, I've been really like messing around with my room setup. Like I bought a brand new TV over the Christmas period. I bought a Switch back in March, just before we pretty much went into the full lockdown at the start of the year. I've diversified my setup exponentially this year and this year gone, and like that last year with all that going on, it allowed us to basically reset our opinion on things, reset our ideals on things, and go to this year and be more creative than we were last year because we couldn't be as much.
Well, not necessarily creative, but it just pushed people to whatever things you had in mind before. I think it really just made people go, you know what, I've got all this time that I could do. I don't really have much of an excuse to not pursue it, as it were.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And it's nice that we had that platform to do it, like just like working on like what we wanted to do last year, and now implementing that. So, but yeah, I'll say as we head into the next break, we're into the first break of the episode. I'll say it. We wasn't expecting to really have any like spearheading topics for this podcast. We are going to talk about Trump after the break. But yeah, no shot there. But we're doing so with not so much anger at him, but so much the case that like, we got him kind of thing. So
as he calls it, gotcha questions.
Gotcha questions. So now on that note, was she after the break?
I'm going to take a massive pee break.
Massive pee break.
Massive pee break. Anyways, catch you. Hello and welcome back to this episode of What Topic. So we briefly talked about, coming to the new year and, just hoping for the best and take it as it comes. So now we're going to talk
a creative conversation as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we went a bit overboard, but it was a good thing. Like, I just think that, it's sort of like aspirations that we hope to achieve from this year compared to last year. Well, the fact that we had to have a sudden readjustment from last year, and now it's like we're just continuing from what we've been dealing with for the past almost a year now, that we have to deal with lockdowns and tears and this and that. So
we're ready to break free, and obviously we had a nice long conversation that probably went longer than we expected to do, and actually I think that made for a more nicer way to describe how we feel about the year going ahead, and like how positive we're trying to be about it and going in different paths. And not to put a damper on that, but obviously at the same time it's a good thing and a bad thing. Trump is obviously going to be leaving soon. Bad thing is though, he's still trying his antics, right?
He's still trying to hold on like the presidency, and
he's holding on by his blonde tan.
I mean, it is pretty much like we are pointing at him and laughing because every attempt he's been trying to make, it's been just an absolute failure on that regard.
I just can't get the image of him as his spitting image character puppet. It's so
apparently a lot of people in the White House are just saying that he's just making temper tantrums.
Yeah, he's lost touch. I mean, he only lost touch when he came in as president, to be fair, I think. But
well, it was just so, if it was any more obvious that he was unfit to be president of the United States, it was just. Yeah, but those of you who don't know, it has just been recently leaked by the Washington Post, since last night, for me at least, that a leaked phone conversation with the Republican State of Secretary in Georgia, that Trump was trying to pressure him to overturn the election results from Biden to Trump. And obviously, they're just not pushing. They're just basically saying, well, we've recalculated the election results and they still go to Biden. Exactly. And it's just, it's just the fact that Trump is just going like, it's like, the Georgians is like really angry, and the people want the truth and this and that, and they're all pretty much, and the Republican secretary are just basically saying, well, we are telling the truth. We are giving the results that people have voted for. I mean, that's what you asked for. Like, you want a fair election, you got a fair election, you lost, deal with it. And
pretty much, I'm actually looking at what you put on your story here, just like to kind of quote, because I think what you put actually really kind of summarizes just how much of a person he's trying to be right now. The president, in quotation marks, obviously you're basically calling pedantic.
I've never called him President Trump. I just call him Trump or dickhead or amongst other things, but anything but the president.
But yeah, the quotation marks is an inspired idea there, like saying president, because you're like even thinking about the fact that you want to even say his name with the name president as well as a fixture. And obviously you put like it's becoming incredibly desperate enough to try pressurizing the Republican secretary, which basically he's just like kind of trying to basically kick everybody that's trying to help him around him.
He's trying to do like Chinese burns on someone's arm, like to go, like do as I want you to do, and they're basically going, no, like we're not doing that at all.
And this isn't just the case that it's just any old representative; it's a Republican representative, which makes it that much more damning on his part, because he's basically trying to say, if you don't do what I fucking say, you're gonna have consequences. And the guy literally, they're literally just like him and his lawyer, right, are on the call. I think was what we.
I think so, but
I
even
looked
they
through it.
don't seem to be pushed up. Like they just go, well, I'm sorry, but you know
They're
these are
cool mouth.
these are the results, and if you don't like them, then tough shit. Like
They made it look like he was basically like having, as you say, a tantrum with them, and they were being as cool as anything, as cool as a cucumber.
yeah, you could tell from the tone, like they're just like, you know, what you can threaten us or whatever, but we're not changing anything just because you don't like it. And yeah, it's like I said, like
he's basically trying to get them to basically go against their own reputation, and they even know that their reputation's on the line, no matter who the president.
And the funny thing is, he keeps saying, you know, the mail-in ballots are fraudulent, this and that, but well, this is totally illegal. What he's trying to do.
Oh yeah.
So it's very hypocritical for him to say that Biden won illegally or fraudulently or whatever, when what he's trying to do is exactly what he's said. His
ideals of fraud are very much mistaken.
Well,
he's talking about it from a kid's perspective. He is like, "Oh, you took this from me. Why can't I have that? Why does it have to be this way?" You know, he's thrown the dummy out the pram quite heavily.
And it's like, what did you expect, like, from a guy who's been made a living as a con artist? Like, he's been made bankrupt like 6 times from his business.
Oh, his favourite quote. Yeah, my dad gave me a loan of $1 million.
It gave me a small loan of a small. And for us, we go maybe 100,000 or whatever. No, $1 million. And he was apparently saying that he struggled to get by. I'm like, fuck off! Like, seriously.
He makes even the most poorest person want to spit on him, probably.
I know.
And that's saying something, you know. Like, we don't come from like very worse off families or like bad off families in general. Like, obviously, I know COVID's like ravaged a lot of people's lives and everything like that.
Yeah.
And Trump will probably make the claim that he's been hard done by as well, but we ain't taking that excuse. But the thing that really like kind of like makes you think is that America have had it up to this point. Obviously, there's people that support Trump, obviously, like that. Like, they can do what they want. They were lost to society years ago with Trumpism and everything. Like, you know, like, obviously, we had Blairism here, but, like, Trumpism over there.
Yeah.
And, like, you got that appeal of somebody who was already in as vice president with Obama, and people relate to that, knowing that he wasn't just there in the background. He was there alongside Obama, doing everything at the right points at the right time. Like, I know there's people that will say that, like, Obama did a lot of good, and then he also did a lot of bad. The thing is, every president has their quos, you know, their woes. Like, look at our prime ministers here in the country. Like, Boris Johnson, he's an absolute fucktard. He's terrible. Bushy head, twat. I mean, I will say, though, and I don't say stuff like this very often, and you'll have heard me say this before, Owen, at some extent, is that I definitely have more favouritism and more fair understanding of someone like Boris Johnson than Trump, because even Boris, who like you had allegiances with him at one point, ended up basically telling him to stuff it, and Trump didn't like it, you know.
Well, everyone's just basically telling him, like, you just gotta have to accept the results, like, whether you like it or not. And it just seems like he's just completely dismissive of the fact that, you know, the people voted, and even the politicians voted. So and the fact was, like, it's really baffling that, you know, we look at the whole thing where we go, why do you need the Electoral College? And, you know, even the Americans say, you know, the Electoral College is a load of shit.
The way that we do our elections in the UK is actually something that a lot of Americans favour.
It's basically the popular vote. That's how we elect. Like, the people vote who we want, and that's who they elect. And it should be the same way as in America. Like, you let the people vote who they want, and who they vote for, that's who they get. So it's like, I mean, I know that will be funny for me that I say, well, technically, if we did that in 2016, then Hillary Clinton would have been president.
Yeah.
And this and that.
The thing is, though, I, as one YouTuber put it, that would have been the lesser of the two evils. Yeah.
Well,
and obviously, you may have seen in the news recently that Julian Assange is back in the news again, about obviously with his stuff with WikiLeaks and all these stuff that he's been doing. But the one thing that like kind of has come about that, like, he's trying to like push back on certain things. But one of the things that he was in obviously part of was the fact that Hillary Clinton had like leaked emails, and like because he was basically doing his approach of like, let's just leak everything. He leaked something that basically nearly could have turned the election. You know.
Yeah.
So that you kind of think that like all these elections may have different, or even over here, like there's different things that can sway an election and change the approach of an election. And obviously you got all the stuff to do with Cambridge Analytica and stuff like that, and obviously the things that influence Brexit. But when you break it down, you look at this election this year in America, and you can 100% say that there was not as much influence as there was in the 2016 election from outside sources like Russia. I know obviously those have not been verified 100%, but at the same time we're not the BBC, so we don't have to stick to those rules, do we? And say that like it's only been alleged and it hasn't been proven 100% yet. But there is plenty of damning evidence, I think, out there that is being ignored still on that basis. But obviously we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I'm kind of basically saying that like this election was fair, square, and Trump even knows that, and he doesn't care.
Well, it's like he wouldn't say anything about this if he won the election.
No.
Like he would just I mean, he probably would just do like he did with the 2016 election, like when he got into presidency, like he would say that the states that voted for Hillary is fortunate and this and that. But it's just like who cares, dude? Like, you won the election like back then, and now it's like he lost it, and he's just.
And if you look at those the Republicans he was talking to on the phone, they obviously didn't care that they were Republican at that point. They just knew that they had to tell their president, look, sit down, you lost, we're not changing our credibility for your we're not changing anything about our credibility, because our people in our state will understand that as betrayal. And whether they like Trump or not, you have to agree at the same time that there's no real reason why a Republican should even be on the side of Trump at this point, because they need to be looking after their own skin now. It's the case in point that like they need to look for a new candidate to go up in the next election in the next 4 years, and there's nothing in my mind that Trump would even make it to the top now for the next lot. And I don't even care if Ivanka thinks that she's got a chance. She ain't got a chance in hell, I don't think.
Nobody in the Trump family has got any shot, because
and they haven't even been given the coup yet, so like, they might still get their heads chopped in, metaphorical speaking.
Well, the thing is, like, Ivanka and Jared Kushner, they're very anxious to go back to New York City, because they were all anticipating for another 4 years, and the fact that they lost.
They're going to get hated by the social elite, aren't they?
And nobody in New York City likes the Trumps at all.
Oh, that's very much shown on Spitting Image. Ivanka Trump is basically like the girl in the corner that never gets invited to anything in the show. It's so hilarious. I love it.
And yeah, so they're considering they're just having thoughts about what they're going to do when they get back to New York City. Are they going to stay there? Are they going to move or whatever? And even the people that are close to the Mar-a-Lago resort in Florida, they don't want Trump to go back.
His own resort.
Yeah, they don't want him back.
You know something, that it makes you think about the way that business works, that like some companies have actually got rid of their original CEOs because of the fact that like it's not just about them anymore now. It's more than just them, isn't it? Like it's maybe not in the same vein, but like people think of Apple, they know Steve Jobs. But obviously, at the same time, you think of Apple now, you think of Tim Cook. It's not always the guy that started the company. It's whoever's currently making the best strides for the company. And obviously, Tim Cook is very diverse with his, obviously coming out as, LGBT, obviously coming out as gay. And, like, obviously, Apple have always had a really good, like, stance with pride and stuff like that.
They were always very inclusive for that. Yeah.
And you only have to look at like this now, like Trump's industry, Trump's whole, hotels and complexes.
His business and empire and everything. It's all falling to pieces, and it just makes you wonder, like, if he didn't become president, like, would he still have the same sort of business level as back then? Yeah, like the credibility back then.
I mean, whatever credibility he has, I guess. But
well, no, but that's the thing. Like, would it still be the same if he didn't become president?
I mean, it's obviously it's a fictional thing, but like I'm sure you'll remember in like the Batman movies, like Bruce Wayne was taken from his own company as CEO. And they were still called Wayne Industries. So, like, it doesn't matter if your name is above the door, even though that was a story. like it's not far off of what could actually happen in most. They would call it a hostile takeover, maybe in Trump's mind.
Well, I could
Probably
give
like a
you an
relocation
example.
of power.
I could give you an actual real
Okay.
example. It's like with Roger Ailes at Fox News, with the whole the sexual allegations that were against him,
Yeah.
and the fact that Rupert Murdoch, basically said, "You're going to have to, you either quit, or we
Force
fire
in their
you,
hands, yeah.
or we fire you." There's no.
I like that. Like it's basically like saying you're fucked or you're fucked.
Pretty much. And it's the same with Trump at the moment. Like when he leaves the White House, he's actually got a few state lawsuits against him.
Oh yeah, they'll go into full swing.
Especially in New York, where he's got a few fraudulent business practices.
Oh, he's got Trump University, which I saw a sketch from Russell Brand about. Bloody hell,
that
ripped in its shreds.
Oh yeah, that has been a complete failure. Like a load of his businesses have been complete failures. Like with the what was it? He did a thing for like Trump steaks or something. Like you get the best prime steaks ever, and I'm like, it's a lot of shit.
It's basically like basically what dropship is right now, but like worse probably.
And then
you imagine Trump trying to do his own version of Amazon. Yes, we're going to call it Trumpazon.
And the thing is like, I could bet you that he's going to, like some people have said that he's going to make his own podcast or his TV show or whatever.
Trump TV.
And it's just like, we don't need to hear from Trump. We don't need to hear from Don Jr. We don't need to hear from his
like even people like the InfoWars. Bloody idiots!
Yeah.
This is the funny thing. When I first heard that like there was speculation that he would try and do something like Trump TV, I actually legit thought about that episode of Family Guy where they made their own like pirate TV channel where they did like they did like the side boob hour and stuff like that. Like the FCC were literally like bumping in and doing the song and obviously, but. Obviously, I know that's with the Batman thing and the Dark Knight stuff. Like, obviously, that's like fictional, obviously, but it's not far off of what like you'd expect. Like people would just not accept it and they'd be outraged for it. Like, and you just kind of get you get that feeling that like he's done enough damning things now. How is he going to get approval to open up more companies?
I think after they leave, that their name's already tarnished. Like the way because the people voted for him out because obviously I wouldn't say probably he has been like the worst president in recent memory. Like he has done absolutely jack shit for America, that he just does not take any responsibility for any mistakes or issues that he has. He he's been friends with dictators like from China, Russia, and North Korea.
And he takes the piss out of China and everything, doesn't he? And he's still got people over in China. Well,
the fact he's basically, and he's also encouraged that being a racist, sexist, misogynist, xenophobe, and everything else is basically acceptable.
Oh
and
yeah,
that's why
say like, oh yeah, stand by.
Well, stand back and stand by. Yeah, those are, and the Proud Boys actually use that. That's their new logo right now. And
they obviously using Fred Perry, weren't they, as their like symbol of clothing?
And the fact that that Trump has not said he has not disowned the Ku Klux Klan. All he does is goes, I don't know who David Duke is, so whatever. And even when people say, David Duke was the former the High Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, he would just go, well, I still don't know him, so.
It's the same situation with what's his name that Jeffrey Epstein. He said he didn't know who he was, and he had a photo with him. Like,
there's a photo.
How can you get less credible than that?
There's videos of them talking to each other and everything. It's just like, do you think we're really that stupid? And even Trump supporters that he disowned racism. And I'm like, no, he didn't. He did not say.
You know something? If there's one thing that really reflects what Trump has done as a person, is basically just sell a lie. Essentially, I know politicalness and politics in general has a lot of lies built into it, but he was touted. He is the non-establishment, wasn't he?
He is just pure grade A bullshit. Like,
Oh yeah,
it's just
he said he'd look after everybody. Like in his speech when he won the presidency, he's like, "Oh, I'll look after everyone. I'll look after the lesbians, the gays," in his own like mystical way. And he did absolutely a-hole shit.
all he did was just hold the flag, just put the thumbs up, as he normally does, and
He's like, "I'm part of the movement, but not really."
it's almost as bad as when he held the Bible for a photo op.
Oh god.
Holding a Bible or holding the LGBTQ flag and all that
It's
is
an insult.
absolute. It means nothing. Like it's like
It's a very hands-off approach, isn't it?
It's like the old thing saying that it's like recently a lot of people of color on Instagram are being really pissed right now because obviously all the white people have been supporting the Black Lives Matter, and now because that people are no longer talking about it now, they've gone back to being a bunch of hypocrites basically, and it's like you were all jumping on the trend on supporting Black lives and everything, and now because nobody's talking about it, you've gone back to your racist ways or supporting racists. And
it's a case in point that like people were using it for clout, businesses were using it as a marketing approach, but then there are companies that actually have stuck to their word and done stuff like Black History Month, like even further than the first month. Like, look, a good example would be Gymshark. Like they've diversed their company the last year so much. Like they already did a really good thing at the start of the year, and they didn't. I mean, obviously, this is not discrediting any other companies that have done this. Or sorry, should I say haven't done this. Gymshark didn't furlough any of their employees. They had all their employees working, and like even some of the employees that couldn't work, like the ones that were like chefs in like their the refuel department, like where they do all their like foods for the staff, like the refectory, I guess you could say. Even those staff members weren't furloughed; they were just paid their wage as normal and given actually a little bit more statutory pay, which I think is brilliant.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And obviously that continued throughout the year, like obviously like upholding the values of keeping fit throughout the lockdown, like obviously obesity being an issue. Like they never poked their finger at the issue in a way that would cause outrage. They were there when people was expecting them to be there. Like even when the gyms were having issues, like they were like jumping in on that very early on. They weren't like the pure gyms of the UK, like literally going, "Oh, we stand with Nick." What's his name? Nick Cope, is it? The guy that like basically like said, "Oh, I ain't closing my gym." Do you know?
I know who you're talking about. I can't think of it.
Nick Capello-Whitcomb, that's it. Like,
yeah.
Like he's said a few things that people have been a bit disagreeable about recently, but like even the next mayor of London, potential Brian Rose, I watched a lot of his stuff, like London Real London or London Real TV. He speaks a lot of truth, and like he said that, I know he's a Liverpoolian, but you know what? I have a lot more credibility for someone like him than somebody up in power in the government. Understanding that the gyms weren't causing a lot of the cases in COVID, and then you obviously you go to other things like saying like people were saying protests were causing COVID cases. No, they wouldn't if you weren't being an idiot about it and doing what. Like, look at an example would be look at London. We all saw that video where the guy literally threw a bike at a police officer on a horse. That was disgusting. That was the opposite of what a protest should be. And then you've got Birmingham, my own home city, near and dear to me. I mean, Birmingham City Council are very well known for many good things. They've done stuff to do with the bins, like collections not being done for months because of disputes with pay. But on the spinhead of that, they approved to have a march in Birmingham. They asked them to just quietly move over towards the library space rather than being down where the crowded section of shops could be and you could cause an issue. They had people out there, police officers. Nobody got hurt. Everyone was able to protest fairly and safely, and it was a peaceful thing. An example that our second city in the country can do it and London couldn't just shows you how diverse places are in this country and how much care and understanding we have for it. And I mean, going back to like Gymshark, literally, they've been doing a big push to get more ethnic diversity across their business, and they've been keeping people updated on their blog about it. So like it's not a case of we're here for everyone, and then they just go silent, like as you say. There are businesses like Gymshark which have a deep meaning. Like they don't move to the London capital like all big businesses do. Birmingham is their home still for the majority of Gymshark's operations. Like they've expanded out to other continents to like diversify their distribution networks, but they haven't forgotten where they were built. They're literally still based out of Solihull, Birmingham, literally like a stone's throw from the international airport.
Yeah, and whilst you were talking about that, it just actually made me think about what Trump was doing. It was actually the equivalent to, those fake, those social media influencers that were,
Oh yeah.
quote unquote, supporting the Black Lives Matter. That there was a video of that one girl that was pretending to help a guy board up his shop,
Oh yeah,
if you
that.
remember. And there was numerous other videos where
Did she say that was supposed to look like a hoax to make it look like that's something that could happen? But she got called out for it because it actually.
Oh, she got called out for it. Like she put it on her Instagram, basically saying, I'm helping with the community, but all she was doing was just helping with a nail gun and just posed and then did nothing after that. And there was other videos where there was a woman who was standing posing, and then the boyfriend was taking a photo, and it looked like the boyfriend just, it's like, okay, let's just take the photo and let's just go. But she was like looking like she was getting really frustrated, like the photo just wasn't right what she wanted.
It wasn't
and
giving
I was
the
like,
right effects.
I was like, what the fuck? Like, and there was like, even when people were protesting, there was a one where I don't know if she was a model or whatever, but she was wearing this black dress and just going along, and then just put the fist up and whatever.
Yeah, she joined in for like so much time, and then she got into a car and left.
Yeah. Something like that, but it just like she just walked along like it was like a catwalk.
And then you got people like I wouldn't say YouTube, I wouldn't say famed for he's not got fame for knowingly being a very good person. I mean, he's got a lot better obviously since it happened, but like our very own YouTuber himself, Logan Paul. I mean, he was out on marching, and he wasn't doing it for clout. He was doing it for the right reasons, and like he knows that's not something that's going to help him redeem, the incident that he did in Japan. But like he knows that he was worth a person back then, and he's made good on a lot of that in last year.
Well, I'm still.
I know. No one's ever going to forget what he's done, but like the thing is, though, he's used that as a point to make that like he can continue to prove to people that he is changing, and he'll always remember that and mark that as something that he's done wrong if he does slip up, because he'll know that he's slipped up. Like
I don't know. He hates you're more forgiving than I am. I just think he is.
No, I understand. Obviously, not.
He's such a fake. To me, that Logan Paul is just a much fake and shallow sort of. Like he tried to make those really half-assed, apologetic videos, and then he tried to do this little short documentary thing that talk about mental health, and I'm like, just fuck off. Like
the thing is, I feel like him and his brother his brother was never very
his younger brother's worse. Like he's a piece of shit.
That just tell like he even made it quite clear that he said that his brother's lost his marbles on Instagram a few weeks ago. And you know what, like it takes a lot to say that about your own brother. So like you've got to give him a bit of validation for the fact that like he didn't have to say that publicly, did he? He could have just said that within his family. He could have.
Not necessarily, but then it's just, I don't know, like I just think, both Logan and Jake Paul, like it's probably like, their sort of humor, like the fact that they made a film called Airplane Mode, and it's God, yeah. I haven't seen it, but I just saw the trailer. I'm like, this just looks horrendous.
The thing is, I think if I'm just like making it quite brief, because obviously I don't want to sound like I've opened up a wound, because obviously like we both have a different opinion on Logan, like, but at the same time, like I think the one thing we can both say is true is that he has acknowledged what he's done, and he's made it quite clear, even from the moment that like he made the maybe not so liked videos of him like apologizing, but like even since, he says he knows that he can never fully be accepted by some people, because what he's done is very unforgivable. But he said rather than people forgive me, he would like people to see him for what he can do better since then, to try and basically make a better way of him leaving a mark on the planet rather than what he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot better than what his younger brother's doing. Like he's just taking part of like people like looting was it a shopping mall?
And also he's basically trying to like talk shit about Conor McGregor's wife to try and get him to fight him.
Well, it's just because he won that fight,
with
and
Nate Robinson. Like that he's a baseball player, right? Or
well,
basketball
that's the
player.
thing. It's like he's a basketball player, and they're not fighters in any way.
No, that
Um,
fight looked really, really sketchy.
so the fact that he's trying to, talk shit about Conor McGregor, it's like, good luck, mate.
Yeah,
That's all I have to say.
honestly, I mean, like, I don't like to wish this on people, but I like to see Conor McGregor smash his face in. I would.
It's just the fact that he just thinks like he's basically got his ego up in his head,
Oh yeah, he's had an ego since
and
the minute he came out of Disney.
and yeah, and it's just like, and because he's like, I'm the younger brother of Logan Paul,
He
like
could get away with it, like the older brother can't, as such.
and it's just, I don't know, it's just the whole thing. But yeah, going back to, like, we'll finish with the whole thing with Trump, is that basically that the fact that it's revealing that he's so desperate to cling on to something that he's clearly doesn't have any hold on to.
I
And
think it's quite damning that it's taken this long for even some people to actually like talk about it in the same veins of people that actually liked Trump. Like, people are turning against him, and it's taken how many years to do that now? And we've had recordings of him calling presidents back in the early year. You know what I mean? Like, talking about, oh, this virus isn't as bad as people think it's going to be, and then he's in the phone call,
and
saying,
then you find out,
it can do very bad things.
Yeah, if you find out that back in February when he was talking to I can't remember the person was,
I think
but
it was the
he was
Ukrainian
basically
president.
no, it was it was like American journalist, I think.
Oh yes, I think it was.
And he was like saying, I always wanted to downplay the virus, like because I didn't want to cause a panic, and they're like, well,
you've never helped there.
It doesn't help at all. So he basically knew how bad it was, but just chose not to.
I mean, it's not far off of what our country did here, delaying the lockdown and expecting herd immunity to work. Like, that clip of Boris Johnson on This Morning saying herd immunity, it hasn't aged well at all.
Yeah,
I think
anyways,
anywhere near their sofa at the minute.
but yeah, we've got 16 days until he gets kicked out, so that's
and we can sing Sweet Kumbaya on that one.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, I'd say, going on from the bleak sides of the Trump stain for the last 4 years in America, you wanted to talk briefly a little bit about the movies that we're looking forward to and TV shows we're looking to this year, right?
Yes. So I did put on my Instagram stories of some of the films that I am pretty much looking forward to coming out this year. Now, obviously, some of the films on this list were films that were supposed to be released last year.
Yeah, like Black Widow,
Black Widow and amongst everything else. Like, just, God forbid, like, they get delayed.
It got a backbench.
More. So I'll just give you like a few of the films that I'm looking forward to. So like, the reason I put this one, Blythe Spirit, is because I worked on this one, and I would have.
Obviously, have a soft spot for that.
I know, and I would have seen it back in last spring, but obviously that got delayed and everything. So I'm really interested to watch Sound of Metal, which is Riz Ahmed as a drummer for, I think it's a heavy metal band or a hard rock band, and he loses his hearing, so he's trying to find a way to keep being creative with that. So it's just getting really good. It sounds really good reviews.
Do you say that's based on like true story or something?
No, it's I don't know if it is based on a true story, but it's just the story itself is just
either
really
way sounds good.
Promising Young Woman. I got a major crush on Carey Mulligan, so and the premise just sounds really interesting. A woman that just goes against these men that sexually assaulted her, so it's kind of like a I spit on your grave sort of thing. But
imagine that as a sort of genre category. I spat on your grave film type. Imagine that in the BAFTAs. Best film for I Spat on Your Grave award.
I spit on your grave. Yeah. Man.
There's actually not in that same vein, but there's a movie that came out recently. I don't know if you saw it, called Ava. It was on Netflix.
I have seen it on Netflix, and
I will say it's not as good as I was hoping it was going to be, and it's also like a revenge piece towards the end, and it goes really quickly as well.
Yeah, I heard it. It was like, it's all right.
The actor though who played Ava though was really good, so I will give her that. And,
Jessica Chastain is always a plus on my book. So
and what's his name? Is it John McCauley? Is it?
John McAvoy?
Makovich. I think his name is. Honestly, one of my favourite actors at the minute. Like, I love the stuff that he's in. Like, you remember that spoof TV show with was it Will Ferrell? Was it Will Ferrell or I can't remember. It was the one that was like about Space Force. It was called.
Oh, I think you're talking about Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, that's it, yeah. But
Okay.
Malkovich was in that as well, wasn't he? And he was,
Oh, John Malkovich, yeah.
he was really good in that. He was like, honestly, that was one of my favourite funny shows of the year. Like, if there's anything that I've watched too much of it, it's YouTube. So that brought me back into the the funny TV show kind of stuff, which was nice.
Yeah. The other things like No Man's Land, like the new film with Frances McDormand, that just sounds really interesting. Judas and the Black Messiah.
Oh, yes. Did that get delayed from last year? I think it did.
I think it did get delayed.
Because I heard about that. I think they talked about that early spring, possibly.
I think I did remember seeing the trailer for either spring or the summer. I think I can't remember, but yeah, it got delayed. The Father looks amazing. Like, it's just Anthony Hopkins plays a man with who has dementia, and Olivia Colman and who's the other actress?
I like Olivia
there's
Colman.
there's two actresses that playing the same person, because it's just playing with the whole, like, he doesn't recognize his daughter at times, and it just plays really interesting
so
things
are we
like that.
basically seeing it from his perspective, are we then?
Yeah, so it's like they're playing the same characters, but they're played by different actors.
Oh, that's
so
quite
it's like,
cool.
and it's just playing with the whole dementia aspect. So that's really interesting.
I'm trying to remember here. Olivia Colman was in Broadchurch, right?
Yes, as she won the Oscar for The Favourite. So
this might sound bad, but like, I mean, there's loads of things that I haven't watched, like, and like the response from some people are like, what, you have watched that? But like, the one I haven't really been like said to, oh, you should have watched, like, I want to watch, is Broadchurch. I want to actually watch Broadchurch.
It does sound pretty good though. So
I think it's on BritBox. I think though, because I know it's ITV, isn't it?
I think it's ITV or iPlayer or one of those two.
Yeah, I definitely need to lean into my subscription with BritBox, because I had a deal over Christmas, so definitely need to do that.
One of the animated films I'm actually quite looking forward to is Raya and the Last Dragon.
Oh, I heard about that. Is that Fox?
It's Walt Disney.
Oh, it's Walt Disney. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's not Pixar, but it's Walt Disney Animation. So
they're flexing their animation.
So it's the same it's the same team behind Frozen and what's that one with the Dwayne Johnson? Was it Maui?
Maui, yeah, I think
Maui. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so it's the same team. Then next one is the one that we both have been anticipating and I just keep getting delayed is No Time to Die.
Oh man, you know something? I don't know what it is, but like the same. I'm in the same vein as feeling hopeful when it turned midnight on I need to say Christmas Day then, New Year's Day then. Is that like I actually feel like it's actually like in the position that we was talking about the cinema. It was the cinema chain, obviously Cineworld closing, and obviously the change of day again. I do feel a bit more hopeful about this new date, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. I mean, me too. But again, we just don't know what's going to happen. But we do hope that
there's obviously bubble about MGM being sold off at some point.
Yeah, that too. But we can only hope that it finally comes out in April this year. So
I do kind of see a potential point where Paramount Pictures might actually swoop in and buy MGM, because they've had dealings with them for a few years.
Possibly. But
I'm sure Paramount did the last two films, right? Because they dropped. Or is it the last film?
No, it was Sony that was alongside MGM with Casino Royale to Spectre, and then Universal Universal's took it over.
Sorry, not Paramount. Sorry. So yeah, maybe Universal might buy. I think they've got shares in MGM, so they might even buy the full shares. You never know.
Possibly, but who knows?
I would probably say I feel a lot more comfortable about Universal owning the rights to MGM than Sony, because I feel like Sony ruined the last few Resident Evil movies when they came out.
I think they got ruined since the first one. To be honest,
don't get me wrong. I think Mila Jovovich, one of the best actors on the fighting scene. Like, she does a lot of her own stunts, like Tom Cruise. Like, she's basically like the more grittier version of Tom Cruise, if that's a thing, But like honestly, like yeah, I do get where you're coming from. I forget I forget the guy's name who did the directing and the screenwriting stuff for the.
Oh, Paul W.S. Anderson.
I don't think it was overly terrible because like I think the first three movies are good. I mean, even the third Extinction movie is a little bit like overdrawn. Afterlife, me and my mate Krishna absolutely hated Afterlife. It was all right after the first watch, but we was cringing like through it. Like it reminded me of when the Harry Potter series went past Prison of Azkaban. They just went into like the distance and then they came back into another scene because like they just couldn't be asked to try and make it realistic and real.
I just thought Resident Evil 2 was god awful, personally.
I still go back to Resident Evil 1 as one of the classics. Like I've still got the DVD set in my cupboard.
Well, funny enough, they're actually going to reboot it.
Yes, they are. And there's also an animated series around Albert Wesker's children, I believe, as well.
Something like that. But
I think they made the deal. I don't know if it was Sony or Capcom. I think it might have been Capcom that made the deal with Netflix, and I think Sony Entertainment Pictures are distributing it because they did actually help with the distribution with Capcom of the first two cartoon series. Was it Damnation and Regeneration or Damnation? I think no, Regeneration.
I can't remember.
One of the movies.
But the next one would be, this one also got delayed massively, is A Quiet Place Part 2.
Oh yeah, I thought that wasn't that rescheduled for June at one point, and then it got just.
It was supposed to come out in March, and I remember. The only reason I remember that is because every time I came to London, I always saw the posters that was still kept on there and said coming out in March.
Oh yeah, they did, yeah.
So I thought yeah, but I loved the first film, so I'm excited to see what they do with the second one.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with that. Like I've only really looked on at the silent play stuff because I'm not really into that kind of movie. It's very like horror, sci-fi. Well, not even sci-fi. Psychological probably is the word I was supposed to use. It makes me think of something like Bird Box a little bit probably.
Yeah.
It's not really my scene, but I mean, as we've obviously had our episode of Halloween, like talking about horror films. Like one thing I like to do is I like to look in. So far, like I like to do window shopping at horror films because I like Resident Evil. I wouldn't call even a horror film. I'd say it's like more like psychological movies. Like there are scary points, but there's not. It's more tame in my mind. And like when I was younger, I probably thought there was a little bit more scary than they were. But
yeah,
you kind of adjust your scope. Like I never watched Bird Box, but I looked on at the memes and the stuff about it. I know what it's about, but I don't have to watch it because it's not for me. You know, like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it at arm's length. Put it like that.
Yeah, no,
but
for
I'd
sure.
love to see where this movie ends up because I know it had a lot of hype behind it last year when it was supposed to launch.
Yeah, like I was really surprised by it.
It was the first film that was actually put on pause, wasn't it? I think, right?
This one?
Yeah, I think that was the first film that got put back.
Actually, no, it was No Time to Die.
Oh no, yeah, sorry, No Time to Die was first.
And then the rest, just followed through.
Yeah.
Next one is Edgar Wright's next film, Last Night in Soho. This was supposed to be released last year as well, and that got delayed. So I'm always all for.
What's that about? If you're just recalling.
Nothing much about it as of yet. It's just a mystery sort of noir sort of story set in the 60s
in Soho, London, right?
In London, yeah. And
that's good actually. Soho's got a lot of history behind it. I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, and it stars Thomas and Mackenzie, Anya Taylor-Joy, and Matt Smith. So it's got a very interesting cast.
He's been doing a lot of diverse stuff over the last few years. He's been in Terminator. He's been in. I think he was not in Bridgerton, but he was in it was the Crown. He was in the Crown.
The Crown. Well. That's it. Yeah.
He's got into a lot of things, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. And I'm always a fan of Anya Taylor-Joy, and obviously since Jojo the Rabbit, I've been a fan of Thomas and Mackenzie as well.
He's a very good actor. He is.
It's a she actually.
Oh, she. Sorry, she. This is the problem. Some names I get confused with.
Yeah, Thomas and Mackenzie was the Jewish girl that hid in the wars. Like if you've seen the film, then you know who she plays.
I know who you're on about. Like I don't know why I referenced her as some guy. I apologise for anyone who might be offended.
The next one is Black. I mean, not massively. It's like, but I am, because I've been following the MCU. I'm interested to see what they do next. So Black Widow is on my list.
Honestly, like this is the like when we first saw films being delayed, we were like, this one seems to be sitting quite idly. It doesn't seem to like be delayed, and
it did seem like they were going to stick their guns and stay like we're going to stick to our main release.
Disney
and then
seems to have a better opportunity at this sort of stuff because they've got their streaming platform. Their streaming platform launched at a pretty good time, even in America, as opposed to just here. Like everyone knew it was like the reason to stay stay vigilant in lockdown, because like you was going to be getting a new streaming service launch pretty much bang on the start of March, and like it's like it came at a good time for people in the UK, and like I mean I think other markets got it at the same time as well. I think Australia got it just a bit before we did as well, and like it just puts you in perspective that like they could do so many different things. Like they already have, obviously, Mulan was supposed to be in cinemas in the UK and other countries. I mean, it launched in China on the cinemas, but it didn't. They
did. Well, they did have the New York. They did have the American premiere, and then they just didn't release it because of the coronavirus.
So that's probably one of the only premieres that's ever happened that didn't have the movie launched straight after it. I imagine
it was just funny that they had the premiere and then they were like,
actually, gone,
gone, and then like. But we're going to put it with a $30 price tag on Disney Plus. No,
I think they've definitely decided to avoid that because they haven't used that model.
It's definitely backfired.
Like, I could see them doing like maybe like more like a sort of like a raffle entry to a movie, like which like goes to charity. So for example, like maybe if they did Mulan again, but like did it, completely scrubbed it over and started again, and said, okay, you can watch it for a $5 extra, but that money goes to charity. You'd probably be more inclined to watch it early, wouldn't you?
Something like that, but yeah, after finally watching it on Disney Plus, when
it weren't worth the hype.
Here's the thing, it looks great. I can't give the credit away from the people that worked on it. The problem was it was just how it was told. Like the thing that really actually got me was the fact that it wasn't a straight remake of the original. This was like they're gonna take away the musical elements and take away
they took away the dragon as well.
It took Mushu away and everything, and they took it felt like I was gonna watch something new, and that's what
Did Amy tell you that she was absolutely pissed that that Mushu wasn't in it?
Who's that?
Amy. She literally actually was all in the same group, wasn't it? It was talking about it, like
the people. Yeah, a lot of people were pretty pissed that it was not going to be a musical. They're going to take away certain aspects, and to be honest, I was not that fussed about it. Like I was like, okay, cool. Like I guess
it depends on what sort of following you have for the film. Like obviously, for me, have a bit more of a following for it.
For me, it just felt like I was going to watch something new, but after watching it, it still wasn't worth it. There was
still a train wreck.
It was just everything that that could go wrong from telling the story did go wrong, and so not the complete worst thing I've seen. I think Beauty and the Beast is still the worst live action thing, and the Lion King was just boring as hell because it just didn't. Yeah,
but then again, I've got Disney Plus and I haven't watched any of those.
But then again, what do I know? They both made $1 billion at the box office when it was released. So.
They'll always be seen as successes in terms of money spend. Yeah.
So that's that. So that's Black Widow.
I mean, I don't know. You could say at the same time, like, has Tenet made up its money yet in sales from digital yet? Probably hasn't.
About that, not as much probably. But next thing on my list is I'm not a massive fan of of the first film, but you know what, I'm interested to see it. So it's Top Gun Maverick.
So that's I've heard about that. I'm skeptical.
It's like I said, I wasn't a fan of like the first film, but I did enjoy it because it's one of the films from the 80s that you kind of didn't watch.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like there was obviously the TV show movie adaptation of Dad's Army, and it was absolutely horrific, wasn't it?
I haven't seen it, but I just heard it.
I haven't either. My dad said it was terrible. Like he was really like it that actually like insulted him. That's when you know that they got it so wrong that it insults somebody who's a long term fan of a TV show like Dad's Army. Okay.
And with Top Gun Maverick, that this was a film that was in development when Tony Scott, the director of the first film, was still around. And unfortunately, when he commits suicide by jumping off the bridge, people were wondering, like, you know, if this film is still going to get made. And Tom Cruise said, "Yeah, we're still going to get it made." So they found a director, and they just got it made. So
yeah. Well, that's nice to know. That, I mean, hopefully, because Tom Cruise is still in it this time around, maybe he's making sure that it doesn't go flop. You know.
Well, let's hope so. Next thing I was
speaking, he hasn't been in many terrible films. I mean, apart from the Mummy.
The Mummy was awful. Like that was.
I bet he even probably wants to sweep down on the carpet.
If you want to laugh at something, watch the Mummy IMAX trailer, because it's infamous for taking away the music out of the trailer, and you can hear like just the audio, and it's hilarious. Like it's just so good. But anyways, the next thing on my list, so this is the film actually from the MCU I'm actually quite intrigued about, and it's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Oh, I saw you say about that. Yeah.
So the reason I say that is because obviously this is a character I don't know much about, but the thing about the Ten Rings,
it's a fresh intake.
Well, the Ten Rings is something that has been featured since Iron Man, since 2008. And obviously, the lead of the Ten Rings is the Mandarin. And obviously, we had that from Iron Man 3, but that was a fake Mandarin. And obviously, we thought that was the Mandarin. But then in a short film called I Am the King, or so, I can't remember what it was called, but they did feature that there is the real Mandarin. So they've now cast a well-known Chinese actor called Tony Leung as the Mandarin.
So they're actually doing something that Disney internally couldn't do themselves with the Mulan movie, like just basically just insult people with the side of ethnics that like the wrong person was in the wrong role. They've actually done it properly with Marvel's side of things.
Well, they just seem to fix it. Like, I mean, I get what they were trying to do with Iron Man 3, and I actually quite enjoyed Iron Man 3. And when it came to the part where
I didn't actually watch the Iron Man movies like properly all the way through up until I think early this year. I actually watched them all the way through properly, and like I could tell where there was pieces that I needed filling in because I'd not watched it properly and seen on the television. But it was good. They were good films. I won't doubt that. I think Iron Man 1 and 2 are definitely the stronger movies, 100%.
So definitely interested in that. The next one is from DC, Warner Brothers and DC, is the Suicide Squad, which is a loose sequel but soft reboot from the first film, and I'm excited for that one because it's written directed by James Gunn, who did the Guardians of the Galaxy films.
Oh yeah, I'll sit behind that. I actually probably expect that to be really good.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what they do. You
got your fingers and your toes crossed that it's actually a decent film.
Well, funny enough, I should have added this on my list, but then it's like technically when it does get released, it's going to get released as 1 hour episodes, and that is Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yes, I remember.
That is coming out in March this year. So so far we haven't heard anything that is going to get a UK release. But
technically, DC's biggest weakness right now is not having a streaming platform like Disney Plus behind you, like Marvel does.
No, but then it's already got with HBO Max. So
yes, that's because it's Warner Brothers, obviously. Yeah,
it's Warner Brothers, and the fact that I think. Because they released a lot of the HBO Max originals on Sky TV or like Sky Atlantic or whatever you got. Like, for example, like Raised by Wolves was a HBO Max original, and then it got released on Sky or Now TV, depending whatever you watch it on. Yeah. So I think it will get released. Justice League will get released on Sky, or they would skip all that and then just release it in cinemas as a 4-hour film.
Interesting, very interesting.
Well, though, those people who want to sit 4 hours to watch a film, that's another question.
Well, if there's anything I can remember is I remember one of the longest movies I'd watched, at least up until Endgame. It was probably one of the last Pirates of the Caribbean movies. They actually had a momentary pause where you could just go and use the loo because it was that long.
We didn't have that. I think I know what you're talking about. It was Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
Yeah, it was quite a long movie.
It was three hours, and it was awful, like waste of time.
You know what? I was there for the story of like Jack Sparrow and stuff like that, but like it was a poor implementation of the movie.
Well, the fact that when it got released on DVD and Blu-ray, they had a little leaflet to quote quote explain the plot holes, and even those explanations were so piss poor. So
they probably knew at that point they just couldn't make it any better.
It's oh god, it was awful.
I'm just thinking that lately. I think Pirates of the Caribbean is on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Yes, it's Disney. So
yeah. Although the only reason I say it is because some things aren't all on Disney Plus at once, which is annoying. Like, the last season of Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I had to watch through another way.
It was quite funny because they got nearly all the X-Men films, and I was like, "Oh, where's Logan?" And then they were like,
"Yeah."
Oh. And then
maybe it's because Logan was done with Fox, right?
Well, that's the thing. All the X-Men films are with Fox, so they got all that. But then I'm like, you don't have. But maybe because it was a change recently. Well, I don't think it's that. I just think it's because it's more adult orientated. It's really violent. It's so they want to try. Not put that out.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, so, I don't know if you heard about the news, but like Disney bought out the streaming service called Stars in a Stars TV or something like that in India. Yeah. So I think what they're doing is, along with all their Fox content that they've now got the rights to, they're going to merge Stars as its own plaque on the main screen in Disney Plus, and the price is going up by £2, I think, in March. Which, you know what, for £2 extra, if I get a bonus amount of content for the price, I ain't complaining.
Yeah, I mean, it's... Yeah.
I think we might go for another year again because, like, my brother watches Star Wars, like, absolutely all day on it. He watches Star Wars and everything.
The good thing is, like, my sister had a deal with O2 that she gets 6 months free with Disney Plus, so...
Yeah. Honestly, I do think that Disney Plus had a really strong start. And obviously, it's taken them years to get to this point because obviously they've had to build the groundwork for it. Because obviously, as a big company like themselves, they had to get all the rights together. Because obviously, at one point they didn't own ABC, they now own ABC, so all of the ABC shows can come onto Netflix. Off of Netflix, and into Disney Plus.
Yeah. So it's like I'm interested to see what the Suicide Squad is going to do. Next up is Candyman, which is a remake / reboot of. So it's still going to have Tony Todd as the Candyman, but it's going to feature sort of a heritage of with slavery and racism back in history and all that. So I think it's doing something really interesting with that.
So in a way, obviously, it's not going to be like related to Django or anything like that. But like, obviously, obviously Leonardo DiCaprio, that was obviously called the Candyman, wasn't he? But like, I get the background of like that. Like,
no, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to be related to that at all.
Oh no! I mean, like the premise of that name, though, like basically says that like he's the.
Well, Candyman is based on a novel by Clive Barker, who's a known horror writer, and obviously there was a film version in the 90s with Virginia Madsen, and it also dealt with sort of racism like back in the history because he was the Candyman was a guy back in the slavery in the days of slavery where he got burnt and he had his arm cut off and
okay, I got the wrong end of the stick there because obviously like I was thinking of like basically the Candyman being like known as the pimp, basically the guy that holds all the sweet revenge. No,
nothing like that.
I got confused there, so sorry to everyone listening there. Obviously, I weren't educated on that one.
So yeah, Candyman. So when you were kids, like you said to look in the mirror and say Bloody Mary, all that sort of thing. Yeah. So exactly the same thing. You look in the mirror and say Candyman, 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 and he becomes like this sort of evil sort of spirit, sort of folk tale sort of thing that if you say this amount of times in front of a mirror, then he will reappear. Then
wow! But obviously, as you say, like it's like challenging. Also, like
they're taking a really interesting way of doing it, and it's also executive produced by Jordan Peele, who did Get Out and Us. So.
Oh yes, I still need to watch Get Out. There's a lot of films I still need to watch.
So good.
I think my problem is I tend to like hold back on watching movies all the time for some reason. Like sometimes I need something like an urge to just go fuck it and just do it. Like I don't know what it is. TV shows I feel more comfortable starting for some reason.
Yeah. Next one. This is one of my top favorites. I'm looking forward to is actually there's a film called Dune. And that's a film by Denis Villeneuve, which stars Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista. It's got a great cast, and it's based on a novel by Frank Herbert. And this film is actually part one of the book. And if this does well, then they'll make the second half of the book. So yeah. That's what I'm looking forward to. So there's other ones like Halloween Kills, which I really enjoyed. The first one that came out in 2018. So that's the second sequel. And then they're going to have another one. I think it's called Halloween Ends or something.
Oh, yeah. I think that, yeah.
And then there's Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, which I haven't seen the musical. Was it the 60s version?
Interesting to see Spielberg getting involved with the musicals.
Yeah. And then lastly, which I haven't been disinterested, but I'm still intrigued to watch it, which is The Matrix 4. And I think the sequels after the first one have been a bit disappointing, to say the least. It doesn't
seem like the hype is there yet. I don't know.
Again, I'm like, if they can make something out of it, then I'm definitely intrigued to see what they do.
I think
so. There's quite a number of things to watch. And
there's quite a lot of those in there, like you saying. Like I'm looking forward to Black Widow. I like to see what Top Gun goes with that. The new second one.
I think the top three for me is No Time to Die.
Yeah,
Dune,
No Time to Die.
And it's just there's quite a lot that I'm really looking forward to, but I think those two are my favorites.
The one thing that's coming very soon that I am looking forward to though is WandaVision. Like it's coming out in literally like 10 days,
2 weeks times. Yeah, so
it's going to be quite interesting. That is. And I've seen the new trailer they launched yesterday, I think it was, or the day before.
Well, I think I did see that. So, but it'll be interesting to see this. This will be the first of the Disney Plus / MCU TV series. Because after that will be Falcon and Winter Soldier, and then Loki, and then after that will be numerous other things like Moon Knight, She-Hulk.
They got all announced early this year.
So much.
Miss Marvel.
And also the Star Wars TV series like Obi-Wan Kenobi and amongst other we've got
they
Disney
literally
Plus. They just went they just got a huge truck and they went, oh, you want more Star Wars and
what's
Marvel?
better than Star Wars? More Star Wars.
So
to be fair, they always get a lot of hype around these different events that they do, and I must admit they announce so much extra content. Like, it makes me not unhappy that Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ended, but I know that Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was having a dwindling audience, and same with other TV shows.
They were losing it by that point.
I mean, you only have to take a look at like the Arrowverse. Like, a lot of the Arrowverse shows were going to their demise at the end. Like, I mean, Arrow was brilliant. I loved Arrow. It was one of my favourite shows. Couldn't get into the Flash, really. Couldn't get into, like, Barry as much as like someone like Oliver.
Yeah.
In the, I mean, they're great shows, don't get me wrong, like, but like, so the appeal of certain things, like the Flash just kind of made me think a bit too much about Superman. I really like Superwoman, not Superwoman, sorry, Supergirl. I have tried to dip into now and again. Depends on where I can watch it though, because like obviously it's not easy to watch.
Well, we also got the season 2 of Batwoman, which is it's going to be played by a new actress because Ruby Rose has left. Yeah. Then we also got next year with The Batman with Robert Pattinson.
There's also that show, that other DC show that I don't know how many people have watched.
Pennyworth.
Yeah. It's on Stars now in the UK.
Yeah.
It's really. I've only done 3 episodes so far, but it's really good. Really good. And it gets you right here in the feels. It does, because like it's so built around obviously the points of Britain where we were at like during the war times, and obviously like the influence on America and stuff, and just like seeing the built up old days of where he went. This
is a character that barely is not
very documented,
explored with Alfred Pennyworth. Like, he's been explored in the comics, but obviously not a lot of people read comics, so they're going to take it from the movie. So this is a really good way to explore the character than just being Bruce Wayne's butler. Like, he's got something to him.
For me, Gotham was a really good show. Like, a lot of people like started to hate it towards the end of the series, thinking it was getting a little bit too loopy for its own good. And it was, I mean, you could say it's in the same vein as like Arrow. Like, they were just getting a bit too pushy with the storyline, and like they knew they had to get to a point where he became X, Y, Z. I ain't gonna say because I don't want to spoil it for people. But you probably know what I'm basically saying. Like the storyline of him going up to being her. But then, like you look at like something like Pennyworth, and Pennyworth doesn't seem to have a North Star of sorts. It seems to like the storyline seems to go from one development to another development in literally less than an hour, and it's like, what happened there?
Well, funny enough, they're actually going to make a prequel series to the Batman. So they're going to make, I think it's something to do with the Gotham PD. So they're going to do something with
like the daily life of Gotham PD.
Well, I don't know what they're going to do. So it's just like the fact that they're still filming the Batman as of right now.
I think the best way to look at like Pennyworth versus something like Gotham was like verging on everything that you'd expect from the movies, and then Pennyworth is more like the more realism of things. Then again, though, Gotham has all of the sort of expecting things of DC, like where all the what's it called, Indian Hill, like. Is it Indigo Hill or Indian Hill, where like obviously like all the experimentation was going on in the Wayne Industries like secret side of things. But then you go down, you whittle down back to like even before all that happened, with Wayne Industries back in the good old Britain where Pennyworth basically finds his way to Bruce Wayne's parents back in the day, Thomas and Martha Wayne. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Like obviously I ain't gonna spoil it for anyone, but like once I've actually finished watching the first series, I think I will probably like talk about it on the episode.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a very very different storyline that people probably weren't expecting at first. But then again, Black Widow is an example of something that has been long in the books of wanting from people. Like people wanted to know what Alfred Pennyworth's story was like, because obviously he didn't just start off being being Thomas Wayne's butler just like that. You want to know where he came from. He's British after all. Like everyone likes to know about the plucky little British guy.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, so that's something to look forward to of the year. We just hope that obviously the TV shows that they're gonna be safe, that they got the streaming services, or
it's the bonus of TV,
like.
TV
but the films are, I'm a little bit like I just hope that they stick to their guns and release it as they are, because like I said, there's a lot of films that got delayed and
no more flip-flopping.
So it's like and obviously April's coming up, and that's my birthday month, so that'll be a great thing for to have like James Bond finally released as they should have done last year back in April.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah, it literally it'll be in time for your birthday, right? So it'll be perfect.
Well, it'll be April 2nd.
I think it was. Yeah, it's a good job they didn't say April 1st. That would have been a real piss off.
So
you guys didn't see Owen's face with it. His face was like, "Oh, I'm rolling my eyes big time when I heard that."
Yeah. But so we're gonna end it on there. So yeah, essentially, it's like there's a lot of things that we aspire to achieve from talking earlier, and something to look forward to from in terms of films and TV shows.
I think we did all right. We did
just stuff to enjoy. Yeah,
we did a lot of bad and good, like kind of mixed together. Like we've done you a burrito like mega melt of shit today. I don't know.
I mean, it's just like, with 2020, it was just such an absolute like
car crash.
It's just a major like a sort of like a readjustment that was quite difficult to adjust. And now we're just continuing that from this year. So it's like we're not taken back by this sudden, pandemic situation.
Oh yeah, we're definitely showing that this year we can take the year back again with with clear hands on the horn.
But take it as it comes, rather than like last year we had a lot of things planned, and then it's just like
last year was all about last year was about riding the storm. This time it's about avoiding the storm much longer. So there's a lot more aspiration, a lot more people feeling a bit more tentative about things, but in a good manner. So, but yeah, thank you very much for joining us for this probably quite a long episode today. We haven't done a probably close to 2-hour episode.
It was a catch up, so
it was a nice catch up. And you know what? For me and you, obviously we spoke a little bit. I say a little bit. We probably spoke for about an hour before we started, but it was the first time we properly spoke in person, in a video call since December. So yeah, I say we're back on normal ways to talk on podcasting and stuff like that,
and hopefully we'll get more guests on board, so we'll keep doing that.
I think we did pretty well, considering that we got 10 episodes in before the year ended. That's a good way to
we had at least 3 guests on board,
and
so
one for the last year, so Yeah. Well, say we hope you very much had a good Happy New Year and a good Christmas, because obviously we didn't speak to you before Christmas. Last time we spoke was before Christmas. So I'll say we've been your host as always, Josh Deakin at Mr. Josh Deakin,
and Owen Burkett at Owen.Burkett.
And as we say, Happy New Year. We hope you had a good Christmas, and we'll see you either next week or the week after.
Yeah, continue to stay safe, wear a mask.
Wear that mask and don't listen to Trump.
Yes. So yeah, anyways, take care, stay safe, and see you next time.
Yes, see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you then.